All right, good afternoon. We will call this meeting of the City Plan Commission to order. Today is Tuesday, November 18th. It is 4:55 p.m. Let's start with a roll call, starting with Noel.
Noel Sanchez.
Charlotte Lipschitz. Rachel Dotson.
Cheyenne Mantrick, our DPD staff.
Bob Azar, DPD staff.
Megan DeSanto, CPC counsel.
And I'm Michael Gazdaco, chair. The minutes of the October 21st meeting were circulated prior to this. Hopefully everyone's reviewed them, had a chance to read them. If there are any edits, now would be the time, or we could take a motion to approve as drafted. I didn't notice anything when I reviewed them.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minute.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, motion has been made. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes pass. Next up is director's report. Mr. Azar.
Okay, so you will, the last item today is a series of zoning changes that we're proposing in part to implement the latest round of zoning enabling and subdivision land development enabling changes at the state level. We also need to amend our subdivision and development review regulations. We've been working on those in-house. You'll see those at the next meeting. We're required to hold a public hearing on those, so we'll start the advertising for that in a week or two. So just to let you know that there's more coming. Hopefully this will be it for a little while, until and unless the General Assembly decides that they want to do more in January. But we're hopeful that this will be the end of it for a little while.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Without any further ado, we will go into agenda item number 1, which is a minor land development project request for extension. It's case number 22-063 MI 322 Washington Street. Attorney Stoltzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board. This will be very short. Just a quick background. My name is Rob Stoltzman. I'm at Adler, Pollock and Sheehan and represent the applicant, Lincoln Avenue Capital, technically LAC Northeast developer. Mr. Scott Shaw may be on Zoom. He's at a national housing conference today. Lincoln Avenue Capital is a national affordable housing developer. We were before you, some of you may recall, in December of 2022 for 322 Washington Street. It's a vacant lot, approximately 20,300 square feet, and it's across the street from the public safety building in Providence. It's in a C2 zone, and the city council in 2022 designated it in the Transportation Overlay District, TOD approval, which was upon your recommendation. On December 13th, 2022, you gave us preliminary approval with some dimensional waivers for a 76-unit, 100% affordable project, and that project has been moving forward. It's difficult to obtain for 100% affordable. We're using a variety of capital tools to finance it. The Rhode Island Housing, Low-Income Housing Tax Credits, LIHTC credits, LIHTC Investor. So all that's coming together, but it has not been fully financed yet. In November 26, 2024, about a year ago, you gave us a 1-year extension on the approval. We're looking forward to resubmitting for the competitive LIHTC and Rhode Island Housing approval. That submission will be made in 2 or 3 weeks, subject to your approval of an additional extension tonight. One other exciting factor you may have read in the paper or you may be aware from staff reports is the Rhode Island the Providence Redevelopment Agency, the Providence Redevelopment Agency, your PRA, acquired the property, and we've entered into an option agreement to acquire the property for this project. So that's going to help facilitate the public-private partnership points that one gets in the capital stack approval. So I think this is one of those white hat situations. Nobody's objecting. There are very few neighbors. It's on the transportation corridor. We went through extensive discussions about improvements along the bus stop, et cetera. And those are all conditions to the approval. So that's the background. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. This has had your support. I want to thank you. The chairman has occasionally reached out and said, what's the status of this? We're interested in helping as an approval body. The city, of course, is helpful. The PRA has been helpful. It's just the difficulty of building affordable housing from a cost standpoint, but it's going forward and we're here to make it happen.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay. We want this to happen. We want the capital stack to line up. So, anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that will grant the extension.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. We'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Thank
Yes,
you.
good
We
luck.
appreciate it.
Moving right along to agenda item number 2. It is a major land development project, public hearing for case number 25-075 MI. It's 195 Nelson Street, or commonly known as the RFK School.
So thanks, Mr. Chair. And a quick introduction. This is a request for major land development approval of the master and preliminary plan combined for the construction of the new RFK school following demolition. The applicant is proposing to construct a 59-foot tall K-8 school building in the PS zone with ancillary parking and other improvements that you typically see for a school. They are requesting a dimensional adjustment for the height of 59 feet, which exceeds the 50-foot height limit of the PS zone. And in addition to that, they are requesting some waivers particularly from submission of city and state approvals, a lighting plan, a signage plan, as well as a stormwater management plan at the preliminary plan stage. And we should note that when the applicant is requesting waivers, they aren't asking to completely do away with them. They're just asking that they be deferred to a future stage of development. So I guess the applicant's here and they can provide more detail.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. My name is Christopher Menahan. I'm with West Group Law, and we're here tonight on behalf of the city of Providence. So we have 2 more school projects this evening, and this is the first one, RFK School. So this project is located at 195 Nelson Street. This is the site of the current RFK school, and so the existing building will be fully raised, and there will be a brand new school going up, which will be pre-K through grades 8. And this site is zoned PS public space, so this is a by right development. So tonight we're seeking to combine master plan and preliminary plan, and also seeking a dimensional adjustment under section 1904E1, subsections A, B, and C. So that's for building height. So there's going to be an average building height of 59 feet, and the maximum allowed in the PS zone is 50. And also, as was mentioned, waiver of certain items at these stages, and the items will be submitted later on during permitting. So those are state and city permits and approvals. So those include RIDEM, Narragansett Bay Commission, and also, as was mentioned, waiver of submission of the lighting plan, signage plan, and stormwater management plan. So tonight I'm joined by Joseph DeSanti of Downs Construction, Justin Hopkins of Tecton on architecture, Brett Nealon of GM2 on engineering, and Jonathan Scarab of GM2 on traffic. And I'll turn it over. Sure.
Thank you, Chris. For the record, Justin Hopkins, I'm an associate principal at Tecton Architects with offices in Hartford, Connecticut and Providence, Rhode Island. So summary of the overall project. This project is part of a district-wide effort to provide new pre-K to 8 elementary schools within the Providence Public School District. So RFK is what's called a 3-track elementary school, pre-K to 5, and a 4-track middle school, grades 6, 7, and 8. And what that means by tracks, it's simply the number of classrooms per grade level. So pre-K to 5, 3 classrooms per grade level, 6, 7, and 8, 4 classrooms per grade level. Total of 858 students. We're a 4-story building. This project is on track for occupancy at the start of the 2027-2028 school year. So there's an illustrated site plan that is to the right of the screen, just to orient you. North is at the top of the screen or top of the site plan. The street boundary at the north of the property is Eaton Street. Nelson Street is to the west and Jastrom Street is to the east. We are positioning the building within the setback lines of the property lines and trying to orient the building footprint as far to the northeast on the property as we can in order to get faculty parking to the southern portion of the site, as well as get in some age-appropriate playscapes to the south and to the west of the building. So let me see if this works. So we would have our pre-K and K playscape, our elementary playscape to the southwest portion of the building, some hot top play directly to the west, basketball courts, foursquare, that type of stuff that we know that our students do. We will have a loading area off of where our commercial kitchen and cafeteria is. That is off of Nelson Street on the corner of Nelson and Eaton. Primarily, the way that the building is positioned to support pickup and drop off, we contemplate having parent pickup and drop off on Jastrom Street or to the east of the building, bus pickup and drop off to the west of the building. The floor plan is arranged in a manner that we have entrances at administrative areas so that we can help facilitate bus pickup on the western portion of the site, parent pickup and drop off at the eastern portion of the site. Pre-K entry will be down in the southeast corner of the building for those pre-K students. In terms, so this is the orientation we shifted a little bit just to make sure that we could get it a little bit larger on the screen. The building footprint and the direction north is now to the right-hand portion of the screen. So you'll see the boundaries of Eaton Street, Jastrom, and Nelson there. We've superimposed the property lines as well as the building setback lines to indicate the compliance with the building footprint. Landscape plan, you'll see in a little bit more detail some of the hardscapes and the building access. We do have a grade differential predominantly on the eastern portion of the building. From Eaton Street, we are going downhill towards the south. Nelson Street is predominantly flat or reasonably level. So where we have an approximate, Brett, 7 foot.
7 feet on Jastrom.
Yeah, 7 foot grade differential on Jastrom Street. Approximate 2 foot differential on Eaton Street, and more or less level or flat on Nelson Street. So the building, positioning of the building and the location of our play areas help support a relatively flat area for our exterior playscapes as well as our hot top play. In terms of the building orientation, we have first floor on the left of the screen, second floor on the right of the screen. So predominantly pre-kindergarten, you'll see the pre-kindergarten 3 classrooms towards the southern portion of the building with their separate entrances. Administrative areas and nurse are rendered in yellow. You'll see our gymnasium, our cafeteria, and our kitchen to the western portion of the building. Those are double height spaces, so when you get up to the second floor on the right-hand portion of the screen, you'll see those as more or less being the second floor of those spaces. So on the second floor, we have our kindergarten and first grade small learning communities. So those grade levels are at the second floor. We have some elementary school specials as well as our elementary media center in the northeast portion of the building footprint. Some building core elements, infrastructure, as well as some of our support spaces more at the core of the building. And you'll see that kind of replicates itself in the building footprint as we go to the third floor on the left-hand portion of the screen, fourth floor on the right-hand portion of the screen. So on the third floor, we have our grades 2, 3, 4, and 5, as well as our some more specials for media center, music, art, STEAM classroom. We've positioned the vertical circulation throughout the building so that it's very important with this disparate group of learners. We want to make sure that we don't have, say, a 7th grade class going through a 3rd grade learning community. So the positioning of the vertical circulation or the stairs allow us to prevent, say, if 8th grade class is going down to art on a lower level or the cafeteria, we're not bringing a whole class through lower elementary learning community to provide a distraction. So on the 4th floor is where we have our middle school. That consists, the 4-track system arrangement consists of 3 general ed classrooms, as well as a science lab. The areas that are rendered in green throughout the floor plans are also our standalone special education resource rooms. So that's an overview of how we're trying to provide the separation of these grade levels according to the different floors. In terms of building volume, this is just an extrusion showing the massing. This is a view from the southeast. So along this area or towards the bottom of the screen is Jastrom Street. And as we go to the elevations, conventional building materials, predominantly a masonry building. This is a 4-story building, so we will be providing fire protection along with the construction type, as well as full fire suppression, et cetera. But by and large, this aligns with conventional school construction practices for masonry, aluminum windows and storefront, some accent materials with metal panels. But by and large, very standard for the types of work that we're doing in with the Providence Public School District. That is a brief overview of the building program, the positioning on site. We have the engineers available to answer any questions related to engineering, and the man to my right will be able to answer any questions regarding traffic as well.
While we're on architecture, commissioners, do you have any questions on the layout? I mean, I guess my first question, just to kick it off, is treatments for the outside. You said mostly masonry, but some architectural metal. What would that finish look like? Would it be solid panels, or would it be like faux wood grain or things like that?
Metal panels, solid metal panels, smooth metal. It's an opportunity where in some of the vertical circulation areas where we express those volumes up vertically throughout the building and may have more glazing, we'll accent that with a metal panel system. That methodology allows us to be efficient with our structural steel systems, not requiring many hung lintels and stuff like that.
other questions, layout, design, okay. I think next, maybe we could hear from your traffic, consultant. This isn't the densely populated neighborhood. I know there are traffic issues that exist today, so we want to hear how, the pre and post construction, traffic scenarios will.
And thank you. And with your permission, I'm going to just toggle back to the illustrated site
Yes,
plan,
please.
which is probably a better descriptive tool as we talk through it. So with that, John Scarrow.
Good evening, everyone. You all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so as Justin pointed out, we've got the orientation back north on this diagram. What you're seeing right now in terms of vehicles and buses is what's existing. We're not proposing to change any of the patterns out here. I stood outside of the school with a couple of colleagues and we watched this traffic both in the morning and the afternoon to see the challenges that were going on. Without going into a full description of what's happening, I'm going to go into what it is we're thinking we can do at the school to try and alleviate some of the congestion, noting that congestion is significant, and in the area you have, it's challenging to find good solutions, keeping in mind that the number one prerogative here is child safety. So we're not trying to do things that are going to make vehicle operations more safe at the cost of doing something that may be detrimental to the safety of the children. So Nelson Street is northbound only during 6:30 to 9:30 and 2:30 to 4:30. I may have those hours off a little bit. The point is traffic is blocked off. There are 6 buses now. We anticipate there to be additional buses because the population of the school is nearly doubling from what it is today. I don't know what that number is just yet. I believe we're still coordinating what that might be. And one of the recommendations we have is to do whatever we can to increase bus ridership. That means we're going to have a discussion with everyone involved as to what the radius is going to be, and if there's an opportunity to get more students to ride the bus so we can remove some pickup and drop-offs from the area. On the north side, I know they're difficult to see before this. This guy?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're familiar with the school area, right now in this area, there is a short 125-foot drop-off area that accommodates anywhere from 5 to 7 vehicles, depending on what's happening. When I was out there watching it, this wasn't operating as efficiently as I would have liked to have seen. We have parents that will park here and exit the vehicle with their child in the middle of that and walk in and see their student to the door and then come back out and take off. This makes this not flow as well as it could. One of the things you want to do is, well, what can we do to increase the capacity here? We had thought about making this really long and extending it along the front, but there's some utility pole issues and there's some congregation areas here that we want to stay away from. So what we did was we provided another cutout area up here to the north near where Eaton and J-Strom meet. This is going to be maybe 3 to 4 cars. It's not very big. We don't have an opportunity to make that as long as we'd like, but this is an improvement. Eaton Street right now is not used. It's 2-way. There's no door, there's no student activity up here. We thought there might be an opportunity to put 2 separate cutouts here to accommodate another 10 to 12 vehicles and get those vehicles out of the J-Strom flow. Maybe they can keep coming across Eaton to alleviate some of the traffic congestion in here. Again, I believe there's gonna be a door here to allow some of that access. Otherwise, we're proposing to keep a lot of what's happening right now. That means different bell times, having the crossing guards where they are, and we don't have a solution for people parking on the east side of J-Strom. That's going to continue to happen, but we're hoping, we believe that with these solutions up here, we're getting this higher turnover rate and more places for people to get in, drop off, and then get out. We can significantly improve the efficiency of what's happening in here, so it won't be as congested. I mean, this is typical of any school. I've done 25 plus of these, and it's common. You get this massive influx in the morning, and in the afternoon, everyone's trying to find parking because they're waiting for school to dismiss. So we think with all these additional areas and the separated bell times, we should see an increase in efficiency. Now, granted, there are twice as many students. So we've gained some efficiency, but we've added a lot of population to be able to handle that as well. So I don't have any other major details to go over. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, you mentioned, different bell times. So what is that gonna look like? What are the hours for, pre-K, I assume is gonna be a little bit different than elementary, and then middle school, they probably have to be close because there's probably gonna be shared ridership for buses, and families are gonna need to plan around, if they have someone in third grade and they also have someone in seventh grade, they have to.
So right now, there's well, when I was at the school in June, there was a bell at 3:20 for pre-K, and then there was a bell at 3:25 for everyone else. And that 5-minute window seemed to be really good in allowing all the parents that were there before that bell rang to get those kids and then efficiently get out of there so that the next wave could come for the 3:25 bell. Now, obviously, if you have families with children in multiple grades, they've got to stick around, but that 5-minute bell variation seemed to work pretty well. Now that we have some additional grades, and that's a discussion we'll have to have. I don't know if it makes sense to have a third bell. Maybe that staggering is a bit too long, but the 2-bell system under the population they have now seems to work. So we may have to tweak that a little bit. There may be a recommendation to have a third bell that's maybe 3 minutes after the second bell, or something that works for the school. That's our suggestion right now, and that's how it works right now, and that's our suggestion for the future.
Okay, so you're not talking about.
Ma'am, you can't speak anything right now.
Okay.
No. There'll be time for public comment.
Thank you.
So on the J-Strom entrance, the southern portion of J-Strom where you have the little carve out.
Yep.
I assume that's where pre-K is going to drop off, right? Because that's where the pre-K entrance is. Is there going to be staff that's going to be like meeting cars to help them in, or are those people parking and walking their children into the school?
I believe we need to coordinate that with the school and the staff. Ideally, we would do like a kiss and go type deal where as you said, a teacher opens the door, the child exits the vehicle, the teacher closes the door, and the parents leave. That's the most efficient way to do it. Again, I'm not sure on the logistics of being able to enforce that.
Does anyone else on the panel here have any information on that? Because that's something that we've talked about at other schools, and maybe you guys can speak to the operations of this.
Yeah, good evening. Joe DeSanti with Downs Construction. I'm the Director of Program Management. We're the owner's project manager for the Phase 2 and Phase 3 schools for the city of Providence. And that is operationally, that is what the intent is, to be able to meet, greet, and bring the children in. It's a staffing issue, an operational issue. The other thing I wanted to add is similar to when we were here last month. One of the things that we are implementing now is that shortly after the schools open, within a few months, we're going to look to make sure that they are operating correctly. And if there needs to be any tweaks, we're going to bring in traffic and any other entities at the same time to have those conversations. And then on an annual basis, do a check-in, as well as keeping the neighbors and community informed as well on that. But the plan is, yes, to make sure that we have a more efficient process of greeting the children, especially the younger ones, getting them in and getting the parents off-site as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. So you're saying you're volunteering to, that we made a condition at the last meeting on one of the schools to people who weren't present to that, was I believe it was a 6-month or 3-month look back, and then annual after that. And that would be meeting with DPW and DPD staff and reviewing operations and how the school is functioning, how traffic is functioning, and how the impact on the neighborhood. And you're saying that on this school, you're volunteering to add that as a condition of approval.
That's correct.
Thank you.
I have a question. You mentioned the bus ridership. How does that affect the amount of parent traffic? And if you increase the number of students who ride on the bus, and how is all that decided? How does that play into who decides who goes on the bus? And is it a certain distance from the school?
Right now, there's a specified radius. I can't remember off the top of my head if it's 1.5 miles or it's 1 mile.
So if you're less than a mile, then you have to be brought.
Correct. You're less than a mile, and bus ridership is not often.
And is that
Or you walk.
Is that a city standard for all city schools?
It's a district standard. Yeah, and we'll get the exact number. I'm not sure if it's 1.5 or 1.
For elementary is one.
So elementary, 1 mile.
What about middle? Because this is middle as well.
Middle, 1.
1.5 for middle, so it's 1 for elementary and 1.5 for. What if there's someone who has an elementary and a middle? Are they able to get on the bus too? Just a question. You may not be able to answer it. Yeah. Seems like a nice little workaround while they can. Okay.
And I mean, I think this is Rhode Island, right? People don't necessarily walk. So even a mile, as little as that sounds, I'm gonna assume most people that have a car and live, 3/4 of a mile, are gonna take a car, and people that live nearby and within a mile probably want to go to the school. So that's probably a large percentage of your students. I don't know if there's a way to, I know it's an expense, right? Now you talk about adding buses, bus drivers, et cetera, but you're talking about the cost to any impact to a lot of different neighborhoods, maybe something to push back a little bit, see if there's maybe a way as they're coming to the school, they can start picking up some of the other students a little closer by. Could eliminate some of that parking, queuing up a parking on J Strom.
So as I read the report, you're meeting the parking requirements, you're exceeding the parking requirements for staff. You're meeting the bike parking requirements, right? Which is extensive. How many bicycle spaces are you having? Like 100, as I recall?
104.
104.
104.
Okay. That'll help in terms of weather.
How many students ride a bike to school?
Good question.
Probably not 104.
Probably not.
Same reason.
Is there any coordination happening with LaSalle? I mean, this is the only school in the direct neighborhood. I know that they also have kind of an impact on traffic.
Yeah, to the best of our ability, similar to like when we're here for Messer, we always look at the surrounding community, surrounding schools. So we are working around what their bus schedules are like as well, or their drop offs as well.
Is there early programming where people can drop off kids earlier than their starting time?
I don't believe so. Here, now
Yeah.
this project also has a rec center that will be rebuilt
But
as
that's
part of it,
after, right?
but that's after, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I'm thinking, I mean, school times are not ideal for a lot of people that work anyways. So it's a way to encourage people to drop their kids a little earlier, maybe get some snacks, and if you can find a way to compute what that number will look like, maybe that can be a reduction for this school and other schools. That might be a good idea to implement.
Yeah, we'll take some of those suggestions back to PPSD.
All right, we can come back to this if anyone else has questions. It seems like we may not have questions on this, but we may have more. Why don't you talk a little bit about the waivers that you're requesting and go through what you're looking at, where you're at as far as regulatory standards and things like that.
So it's, so waivers of submission at the preliminary plan stage of state approval. So those include DEM, Narragansett Bay Commission, and sign-offs from city DPW. And then also waiver of the waiver of submission of the lighting plan, the signage plan, the stormwater management plan, and I believe the final drainage plan, if I'm not mistaken.
And these are under the assumption that you will meet the criteria for all of those, or you'll be back either in front of us or in front of the administrative review for some modification to the approval.
Right. So I understand from the staff report, yeah. So the idea is that if any of those permits change, the plans will come back here for either minor or major.
Okay. And the intent is for the lighting plan, for example, is to be dark sky compliant, have no light spill off to other neighboring properties, et cetera.
Correct.
Okay. And then, why don't you talk a little bit about the dimensional adjustments and the rationale or the reasoning that you need the dimensional adjustment?
Yes, as you can see from the orientation of the site plan, first, the alignment with the district's master plan of moving to pre-K to 8 schools have us have this population with the projected enrollment of 858 students. In order to make sure that we have the appropriate playscapes on the site, faculty parking on the site, bike parking, sidewalks all around the building. We are being efficient with the overall building footprint to the extent that we can have those programs. Early age-appropriate playscapes, early elementary, upper elementary, middle school playscapes. So that necessitated us going to a 4th story in order to provide that efficient footprint, and that accounts for the dimensional request.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and also, can you speak about the public access, public amenities that you'll be?
So yes, the existing RFK school has a recreation program that has after-school programs as well as summer programs when students are outside of the academic calendar year. I'm just going to toggle to the first floor plan. We are positioning some of what we consider the public curriculum components of the gymnasium and the cafeteria, as well as the northern entry, so that we can provide the building for public use and community use, and allow us to more or less prevent any trespass. That's a horrible term, but our curriculum spaces, our classrooms proper, they can be easily separated from our public use. So we've met with the community a number of times, and that has been one of the very clear things, maintaining the rec program at this property. So our entrance in that is off of the west. That gets us to our cafeteria space, our gymnasium space. This can be used as the kind of rec entrance. The community entrance can be at the northern side. Each one of these components can be separated from the rest of the building, as well as especially the western entrance be accessible directly to those exterior play amenities on the property. So from day one, that has been a criteria of this project, is to maintain that public use and that community resource.
That actually leads right into another topic we always like to hear from the applicant about, and that is community engagement. How many community meetings? What has been the discussion, the pinch points? I know probably obviously traffic, as we've noticed from the few people who have written to us prior to this meeting.
I can answer that again. Joe DeSanti with Downs Construction. So in some of the meetings, and I have just a list of meetings, date back to 2023. And then every month we do have our school building committee that's a public meeting as well. But in addition to that, over the last 12 months alone, there's been 14 meetings that are either been ward meetings, community meetings, PTO meetings. So there's been a robust amount of meetings on this project. I think that the majority of the discussion has been about environmental impact during demolition abatement, which is certainly a question the neighbors have, and traffic as well. And those are the kind of things that we've been addressing and been working towards. And as I think Jonathan has said, we're making improvements from, a difficult, challenging situation as far as the traffic. And then as far as the abatement and demolition, there's a very clear regulation that oversees that process. We have licensed individuals that perform that work. We have third-party individuals that oversee that work. There's air clearance testing. So, we have a great deal of certainty that all that work is being done. But again, an impact to the community and the neighbors. But those have been some of the big things, that we've talked about, certainly with engagement from the PTO. And some of the community is talking about programming within the building. I think we've done a lot of that. The rec center actually was one of them. They wanted a new, better rec center that has its own secure vestibule, which is what we're providing, its own office space, as well as the opportunity to use the gym, the cafeteria for meetings, for uses, the exterior playgrounds, the media center, those kind of things. So I think we've addressed a lot of those questions that have come up, and with this design, I think the team has done a great job.
All right, thank you. That's
Can I
really
just
good to
ask
hear.
one question about the rec center? You mentioned, I think earlier, something about that being filled out later. Can you explain that a little bit?
No, it's gonna be built at the same
Oh,
time.
okay.
Yes.
Maybe I missed. Sorry.
No, I'm glad that you were able to incorporate that. I'm sure that's a very important part of the neighborhood. Having a young child, I know a place to send them is pretty key sometimes.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, it's, the rec centers will have a nice welcome opening as you come in. As you know, a lot of, even this past rec center, you would open a door and enter into a gym, basically. It was a metal door. We certainly want to have more welcoming entrance for the children as they come in. And that's why we've created that vestibule in that area of the building.
Okay, commissioners, do you have anything else for the applicant, knowing that we always reserve the right to call them back before we hear the staff report and open up to public comment? Miguel, you go out. Okay, all right, let's hear the staff report, and then we'll start public comment.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And the applicant did go through items like the dimensions, site design, parking, traffic management, as well as environmental management. So we can jump directly into talking about the dimensional adjustment. So as stated, the applicant is seeking a dimensional adjustment for a height of 59 feet, where 50 feet is allowed by right. So they're eligible based on section 1904(1)(e)(1), A, B, and C of the ordinance, based on the slope that they talked about, the type of use, the programming of the school, as well as the fact that they're providing public access to the site. And the requested adjustment is within what you are allowed to grant, and they've demonstrated that the extent is reasonably related to the conditions that make them eligible for the adjustment. So based on that, we recommend that you grant the dimensional adjustment for height, making positive findings as discussed. Then moving on to the waiver, they did talk about the waivers that they were requesting. And we feel that granting those waivers would be in the interest of good planning practice. And we would recommend that you grant them subject to these conditions, that the waived items shall be submitted at the permitting stage, and the city engineer's approval of the drainage plan is required prior to permit review. In addition, we would also say that the applicant shall apply for a major or minor change should approval of any of the waived items result in a change to the site plan, depending on what those changes may be. And following that, we would recommend that upon granting the waiver, you combine both master and preliminary plan approval. So this plan conforms to the comprehensive plan, particularly with objective CS8, which encourages development of schools and improving the learning environment. And also this is in the land use designation for public and open space. Again, as far as the ordinance goes, they do comply with the use, dimension, parking, as well as landscaping requirements, and they will be submitting a conforming lighting plan at the permitting stage. We don't foresee negative environmental impact, no physical constraints to development, and access to the site will be provided from Nelson, Eaton, and J-Strom streets. So based on that, we would recommend that upon combining the stages, you approve the master and preliminary plan subject to these conditions, that the applicant and their traffic engineers work with the city traffic engineer on implementation of the recommendations in their memo, and that the drainage plan be subject to the city engineer's approval.
We, Joanne, I didn't see that the city forester has approved. I said that they were gonna meet the canopy coverage. Do we need to make that a requirement, or is it just assumed that the city forester will approve it prior to?
Yeah, the forester's
Construction.
approval is for street trees, but yeah, they've submitted a conforming plan.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so when it comes to zoning compliance, we routinely will do that review. There's no requirement that it be subject to the forester's review, but since there will be street trees and since this is a city project, the forester will need to be involved in that review. And if I may, I'm anticipating that there's gonna be a correction, put out there in a minute. I believe the pronunciation is Jastrom Street, not Jastrom Street. People have been kind of following that convention, but just to get ahead of, what might be some criticism from some folks with local knowledge.
Warranted as well. Yeah, Jastrom Street, not Jastrom, okay. So noted. All right, we heard the staff report. At this point, we will open it up to public comment after. I mentioned that we have received two letters in advance of this meeting, which are a part of public comment. All the commissioners have received these. One was from Susan Miller and one was from Francine D'Elia. I may have mispronounced that, just like I mispronounced Jasper Street. But we have those, and those are a part of the record already. So if one of you are here today, you want to just summarize again, that's fine. You don't need to recite the entire mailing. So with that, if anyone's here, do we have a sign-in sheet, Lev, or is it? No? Okay, so is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this matter? Please raise your hand.
On the matter of the school, yes.
On RFK School, yes. No, you
Yes.
do? Okay, could you please stand up and go to the podium up here?
Sure. I just have some questions to
Yeah.
ask.
Right where the applicant was.
Okay.
We have viewers here in the room and we have viewers at home on the interwebs, so we want to make sure everyone can hear it and it's all recorded for posterity.
Okay.
And just start off by saying your name and spell your last name, please.
Sure, I'm Susan Aaron. My
Susan,
last name is Aaron.
and your address.
663 Academy Avenue.
Okay, hang on one
So
second.
I will see this building from my back window.
All right, we just have to record that down. Now you can go ahead.
Okay, well, it seems like it's getting much, much bigger. You were talking about the times, the schedule times. And I believe you were talking about like a 5-minute variance between different grades. So we're talking about, by and large, they're gonna be coming and going at about the same time. Is that correct?
So
Just
this,
a little bit staggered?
there's not a question and answer, so you can ask the questions to the body, then we can pull the applicant back or we can answer your questions
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay.
So you can just list out
Go
your
through my
questions,
questions?
yep, and
Okay.
then we'll go through it.
I guess I'm also concerned about the height. I'd love to know what it is now. So I could know what it's gonna look like different. And I'd love to also know when we can see a more detailed rendering of what the projected appearance is going to be. I'm sure I'd have a million other questions, but those are them for now.
That's it, okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else in the physical room who wishes to speak on this matter? And while we're waiting for that, we will let everyone know who's in our virtual room. If you wish to speak on this, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you are calling in. And this is for 195 Nelson Street or the RFK School.
Okay, nobody else in the room
Nope. I
has
don't
their
see
hand
anyone else
up.
in the room, so who's-
The first person online is named Susan. I'm gonna allow you to talk, Susan, if you could identify your full name. And then you can go.
Okay, my name is Susan Miller, and I live at 455 Eaton Street, which is directly across the street from the school on the corner of Nelson and Eaton Street. So my question, which I think is become clearer to me, is that in the letter I received, it mentioned additional recreational facilities, and I could not understand where that was going to take place in the property the property footprint as it stands. So it sounds like what was meant by that was just a change in the facility inside the building. And the only other thing I'll say is that the height is of concern, but whether 4 stories plus 9 more feet is going to make a difference, I don't know. But those were my concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have someone on the phone. Last 3 digits, 165. I'm allowing you to talk. You can go ahead.
Hi,
Person
can
on
you
the
hear
phone.
me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay, hi, this is Fran Delia. I submitted my questions in advance, and I think that you've pretty much answered all of them, except I'm really concerned about the traffic situation because, well, as the traffic director stated, it's going to be, at least 2 times during the day, it's going to be a little congested and chaotic. And I'm a little concerned about that. Also, safety issues, because I really don't have to state this. A lot of people speed terribly down the street, and if they hit any of the kids, it's just going to be incomprehensible. So I'm a little concerned, about that type of reckless driving. And, I guess part of it we'll have to wait and see when the construction is, about how things are going to play out with pick up and drop off on Jastram. But I've had people parking in my driveway, blocking my driveway. And even though there's not supposed to be parking on Eaton Street, I have seen that done, and it prevents the buses from exiting Nelson. So, I guess I'm concerned if there are problems that arise where there is going to be some enforcement, just to kind of limit, parents tend to get over anxious about picking up their kids or dropping them off. I understand that, but there has to be some orderliness so that no one gets hurt or they're not accidents. And that's really, I think I can get beyond all the other concerns, but it's mainly my safety concerns, about traffic and just, if I have to get in and out of my driveway for an appointment, am I going to be able to get out without people blocking, one end of Jasmine to the other, basically, so I can proceed down Eaton Street.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in our virtual room who wishes to speak on this matter? No. All right. With that, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. Let's bring the applicant back up just real quick for a couple of responses to the public comment. And just to start it off, with both all 3 of the neighbors that spoke today, I understand that. I have a school age daughter. I see drop off and pick up. I see people parking in front of houses they shouldn't be parking, blocking driveways. It happens too frequently, and it's unfortunate that some people don't have common courtesy. One of the what we were speaking of earlier, and if we put this forward this evening, I would be suggesting that we modify the the first condition of approval to be in line with what we used last month, for another school that we had traffic concerns with. And that reads that the applicant shall work with the traffic engineer to implement the suggestions in the traffic study and make any necessary additional future changes. The applicant shall review the operation and functionality of traffic movement and pinch points within 3 months of commencement of operations and report their findings to the Department of Planning, that's Bob and his team, and annually thereafter. So 3 months after opening, we want to hear how it goes. And then every year thereafter, we want to hear continually how it goes so that we're not just forgetting about this and it going to the ether. We know how important these schools are and how our children need a safe and warm place to learn, but at the same time, it can impact the residents surrounding the areas negatively as much as sometimes they do. So we want to be aware that there's a tug and pull here. So that's one thing. And again, the applicants already agreed to that on this application because they were here last month on another school and they had already put that forward as an option. And we hope that they will be continuing to take feedback from, neighboring residents throughout that time as well. So let's start off with the first staggered times, height now, and when will we get a more detailed building rendering?
So, and I guess I'll start. So staggered times, we certainly could look at changing that from a couple of minutes to 5 minutes to maybe more. I did also find out that there is an earlier program in the morning as well for dropping off children, which we certainly will make sure that we encourage and bring that recommendation back to PPSD. Additional renderings, I think we're getting closer within the next few weeks. There is a website that we have for the project as well as the PPSD project site. So if you go to their site or if you go to the school building committee meetings on a monthly basis, there's a link there, or you can come in person. Those have the most recent and updated drawings that we share, those kind of renderings. So it's always available to the public. I know that one of the things we might want to do then is we'll also talk to the counselor in that area and see if she would like a link to it as well, and also the principal of the school that's in the swing space, just so they could share with the neighbors and as well as any of the parents. One of the things I did want to touch on was the height. I think that one of the driving factors with the heights of buildings nowadays is we want to have air conditioning, right? Heating and cooling in there. So that means that we need a floor to ceiling height that will accommodate that equipment. I think that's probably in addition to getting the programming in, one of the driving factors really is to get those heating and air conditioning systems in there as well. Make sure that we have proper height in each classroom. And I'm going to look to our architect to confirm that. Yes. So it's not that we want to build buildings any higher than we want to. It's really to make sure that they are, properly conditioned as well as have the proper ceiling heights for the children.
So then moving right into, and I think you can answer this as well, and I think we already went over it. I just want to make sure that I'm not answering for you. The additional rec facilities that are referenced and that the neighbor asked about, they're the indoor spaces, the rec space, the cafeteria, and some of those hardscapes outside, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the playgrounds and that they're all playgrounds. There's no field being built there, for example, no recreation facility. It's the rec center and any of the associated playgrounds or hardscape.
And then if the neighbors do have concerns in the first 3 months, year after, is it the city council person is the best person to reach out to, or is there a dedicated person within the school or the district that would take these comments and filter them back up to the DPD when you're doing those reviews and trying to think about how to make things better?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all. As we've been in the city building schools for many years now, and we get feedback from all the we've had Narducci, Spaziano Elementary School. We went through this last month. We've done a lot of schools, so I guess the best thing is to go to whoever is most available to you, whether it's a counselor. I think the city also has is it 311 as well, right? So there's many places you can go to. During construction, we will have a sign up with a name, with a QR code, so that there are contact people to get a hold of if you have concerns during construction.
There's also the Department of Inspections and Standards that neighbors can call if they're an issue during construction that they're concerned about. That's who would monitor the demolition and construction aspects of it.
Correct. Yeah, and as I've said at last month's meeting, we don't build the schools and then walk away. We continue to monitor them, continue to have relationships and checking in. Spazian Elementary School, for example, was done over 2 years ago. We were just at a meeting the other night there. We continue to be engaged with the community as well throughout the process.
Okay, thank you. Any other follow-ups on?
Just quick, thinking about, the last public comment about speed and safety. Did a quick zoom around on the map on my phone. I see like one speed hump on Jastrom from 22, but then nothing else around the school. Are like cameras or speed bumps part of the traffic plan if it's an issue, or?
We have not looked at speed humps or speed tables, whatever. It's something we could certainly look at.
Sure.
So there is a sign for a speed hump out there. When we did the investigation, that caught my eye because there's no speed humps there now. So we assume that the city took those out for a reason.
I think it was installed and removed
Okay, well, we were gonna have that discussion with Mr. Urso, I believe, from the city as to why that was taken out. Well, we didn't want to say, yeah, put those in if they just put them in and took them out. We did consider that.
It is a tug and pull with, public safety and then, like DPW who is trying to keep the streets clear during snowstorms and things like that. It's always, I know I hear it all the time because I've been a part of those conversations before elsewhere in the city. Yeah.
I am personally aware of how well speed cameras work in school zones, so, yeah.
Oh, yes, they do.
Oh, and
My wife can tell you. No, it's good. It makes people stop and think, even when, I notice myself even on like weekends when I know it's not school time, I'm still going 20 miles an hour in a 25 because I'm worried that they don't know it's not a school day or a holiday, or I don't want that ticket.
I have a quick follow-up just in terms of design. I appreciate all the comments about the rec program, and it seems like you guys have done a ton of programming work and you're fitting a lot into a pretty compact building. I know we're talking about height, but there's a lot going in here. The one sort of thought I have, especially as you start to build out your renderings and think about, what this thing actually looks and feels like, is that it's a big building, and a deep floor plate. And as somebody who spends a lot of time renovating buildings with deep floor plates that, don't have a whole ton of natural light on the interior of them, I just emphasize, anything you can do to bring natural light into the middle of that building. I think, it's not gonna help the neighbors, they're not gonna see it, but it will help the interior environment in what is a pretty big mass.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so commissioners, I think overall this one is, I think that again, the tug and the pull of having, neighborhood schools in the neighborhoods that are servicing the communities around, you're always going to have these issues with traffic and congestion. The good thing is that it's usually limited to certain times of the day. And I think, making sure there's accountability and follow up and continually refining that is the best we can do with this, because we want better schools for the Providence children to learn in. So I think at this point, unless there's any other discussion, we should start talking about the votes that we're going to have to take this evening. And if I'm correct, we would be starting with the dimensional adjustments. And then we'd be looking at the combination of stages, and then we'd be looking at the land development project, the 3 votes. Oh, waivers, right. So the waivers. Number one, number two, dimensional adjustments. Number three would be the combination of stages. And then number four would be the development project. So I guess the first item we tackle is the waivers of the city engineer's approval and the state approvals that are required at this stage, at preliminary and master plan stage. Seeing that the applicant states they are going to comply or come back to us, and it's in good planning practice to do so.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion to waive the
All the conditions, yeah, the thing with the right. There are a couple of conditions,
you want to modify it to have the conditions included that the waived items listed above shall be submitted at the permitting stage. The city engineer's approval of the drainage plan is required prior to permit review, and that the applicant shall apply for a major or minor change should approval of any waived items result in the change of the site plan.
Yes, I'll make that.
All right, so you so modified. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. We'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The second is the dimensional adjustment where the applicant is seeking a height of 59 feet where 50 is permitted by right in the PS zone. And if someone were to make that motion, it would be based on the testimony from the applicant, the submission, and the conditions laid out in the staff report. That it's because it meets an eligibility criteria listed in the staff report. And 1904E in the ordinance having made positive findings conform with section 1005B of the DRR. So moved. We have a so moved from Miguel. We have a second. We have a second from Noel. All right, we'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel? Aye. Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
And Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next would be the request for the combination of stages, preliminary and master plan.
I'll make a motion to grant the request of the combination of stages of master plan and preliminary plan approval.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Now, on the land development project, if we are to put this forward and someone were to make a motion, I would want to modify the first condition to read as I stated earlier, which is exactly how we had it for case number 25-059 MA. The only modification would be that we don't need end RIDOT because it's not an RI, it's not a DOT highway. That the applicant shall work with traffic engineer and traffic engineer to implement the suggestions in the traffic study and to make the necessary additional future changes. The applicant shall review the operation and functionality of traffic movement and pinch points within 3 months of commencement of operations and report their findings to the Department of Planning and Development, and then annually thereafter. And then the drainage shall be subject to the city engineer's approval prior to submission. Obviously, this would be based on approval based on the testimony, the findings of fact laid out in the staff report, and the discussion ensued. No, I'm okay with that. Having city forced them.
So moved.
Well, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All right, we'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Best of luck. Good luck. Now we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is another school. It is a major land development project, public hearing, case number, actually, you know what? We've been here for a little while. Before we call this agenda item, let's take a 5-minute break for the restroom, and then we'll come back. It is 6:04. We will be back at 6:10, and we will start case number 25-081 MA. All right, 6:10. All right, we will call this City Plan Commission back to order and head into our next agenda item. Again, this is a major land development project, public hearing for case number 25-081 MA. It's 188 Princeton Avenue, also known as Stuart Lima School.
Sure, and commissioners, a quick introduction as the applicant makes their way. This is a request, again, for major.
We're gonna start over. We were muted on the Zooms. So no one heard us. So we are calling this meeting back to order. It is 6:10 and we are going right into agenda item number 3, a major land development project, public hearing for case number 25-081 MA 188 Princeton Avenue, also known as Stuart Lima School.
Sure, and commissioners, the applicant is requesting master plan approval. They're requesting to combine the master and preliminary plan stage. And for review of a school, this is again going to be a pre-K through 8 school, 40-foot tall, and it's going to be built on the site of a school that will be demolished. So they, as always, as is customary with land development projects, they will be talking about the building's design, landscaping, traffic management, environmental management, and as well as other items that are customary at this stage. And also, we should say that they are requesting a waiver from submission of city and state approvals at the preliminary plan stage. And so, yeah, the applicant can tell you more about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Once again, I'm Christopher Menahan with West Group Law, here tonight for the new Stuart Lima School. So this project is located at 188 Princeton Avenue. So that's the site of the former Gilbert Stewart Middle School. So the existing building will be fully raised, and once again, we're going to put a brand new pre-K through 8th grade school. And so this project will serve students from Gilbert Stewart as well as Lima School, which is about one block over to the southwest. So this new project will serve both of those schools. And so once again, this is in the public space district. So it's a by right development of a public school. And once again, we are seeking to combine the first 2 development stages, and also seeking a waiver from submission of certain state permits and approvals, those being Narragansett Bay Commission and Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. And so once again, I'm joined by Joseph DeSanti of Downs Construction. We have Louis Tirado of Tirado Architects on architecture, David D'Amico of D'Amico Engineering Technology on civil engineering and traffic engineering, and Diane Soul on landscape architecture. And I'll turn it over to Louis.
Good evening. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, my name is Louis Tirado. Sorry, my clip stuck. My name is Louis Tirado. I'm president of Tirado Architects. We have offices in Providence, just 2 blocks away from the proposed building site. So it's a great pleasure for us to be involved in this project, which we think is going to be a great enhancement to the community. We're going to start with the civil plans and go on to the landscape plans and then come back and show you the architecture of the building.
Is anyone on your team presenting, or would you like? Hang on 1 second, we'll look for you and then we'll no, don't want to get ahead of ourselves here.
B. Connell, B. O'Connell. B. O'Connell.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Right. Take it away. If you're speaking, make sure to speak into the microphone.
Good evening, Commissioner members. David D'Amico, professional civil engineer, with D'Amico Engineering Technologies with offices at 2080 Mineral Spring Avenue in North Providence. And I've had the pleasure to work on the civil engineering for this project. And in the absence of our traffic engineer that actually did the preliminary report that essentially I used to develop the site, I'm gonna do a little hybrid, okay, where I will be the civil and the traffic. And, just for the board's commission's background that, I've been in front of this board and have done traffic testimony for large projects in the city in the past and other cities and towns in the state, consultant to DOT, so in the past, not recently. So in this particular project, and let's go to the existing conditions. Sorry. Go to the existing condition plan. And I want to just give you a quick rundown of essentially what the existing patterns are, the existing site. You all set? Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. All right, next one. Next one, that's just our general notes. And so essentially the site, if you're familiar with it, this is Buckland Street, that goes north-south, Dayball east-west. Essentially we have Elmwood Avenue to the west, and I believe it's Dexter Street going off to the west, excuse me,
Dayball.
east this way. And then you have
Dayball Street.
Dayball, sorry. And then you have Princeton Ave to the north. The existing building, it's actually being this more reflects what the contractor is going to see when he goes out for final construction. You can kind of see the outlay of the existing building, which is being demolished right now. And this was the main entrance right here. So that's why it is 188 Princeton, because the main entrance of the school was situated that way. We essentially, we have 400 feet of frontage along Buckland, 350 feet along Princeton and Dayball, and it is a PS zone. We have a 10-foot frontage, 10-foot setbacks along the frontage, and then we have 25-foot setback in the rear, and you can see that as the dash line. Looking at, let's talk about the traffic patterns as they exist today. Essentially, the bus drop off, we'll go with the bus. The bus drop off happened at Princeton. Princeton is a one-way in the easterly direction today. And the buses would come down and drop off right here, go into the main entrance. Princeton is a pretty narrow roadway, and as noted in the traffic study, and if you've been in that area, you really, when that operation is going on, you really can't use Princeton. And on top of it being a one-way. One of the other things that was noted is that there is no sign or any control that says parents can't drop off there. So sometimes when the bus drop-off operation, you're getting parents to try to drop off the middle school children, and it would actually jam in there. So that's one key thing that I'd like you to keep in mind. And then primarily the main drop-off was along Buckland Street. Essentially along Buckland Street right now, it's a 30-foot width roadway, 10-foot sidewalks, and it has been signed for drop-off only, no parking, only for drop-off. Now, across the street on the west side of Buckland, there's no parking now. But as you're out there, during, drop-offs, you're gonna see people parking on that side. So that tends to, congest the area a bit. In today, there's a large parking lot in the back. That's where all the business end of the school, it's where the teachers park. And all the drop-offs for services all happen today. Dayball is a two-way street. So going into the traffic study, how do we handle that? How do we improve on the congestion that was in here? And one of the suggestions was to reorient the building onto Buckland Street, because that's where the main drop off for the students and parent pickup, and some other elements. Let's talk about those, and we'll show you with the site plan. So the site plan, we'll say the darker gray here, that is now what you see, the new footprint of the building. With the main entrance on Buckland Street. Some of the features of the site, we've now changed the location from back off Dayball, the location of the teacher parking area, the service area for the building, are all off Princeton with two accesses here. One of the other major features that we were able to do is to now have the buses come off Princeton and do all their drop-off, pick-up on their own individual one-way bus loop, which would have 9 spots of parking spots for them, for 9 buses to be able to wait primarily at night.
That's on Elmwood, you mean?
Excuse me?
That's on Elmwood, right?
No,
Isn't Princeton right there?
Princeton.
Right.
And no, so Elmwood, I'm sorry, I did mention Elmwood, so Elmwood would be the next road, the next north-south street. And that's why I thought Dexter was the next north-south, the next, that's correct.
No, Buckland, Dexter's that way, so that's the new road then, should be a new road you're gonna build right there. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Behind the library.
That's correct. That's gonna be on the city's property. That's all on the city's property. We're able to get parking in there, and we're able to get a lane so that if this bus fills up quick, they can pull out and get out of here. We're able to get the proper radii so that the bus of that size can pull out. So that is a major improvement to the congestion in here to get these buses off the top. Right now, I believe there were 6 buses for the middle school and junior high, and this will most likely go to 9 buses.
Forgive
So
me.
that's a major aspect. And the other thing that we're able to do is to bump out and have individual parking. Parking along, there's 18 spots along here with 88 parking spaces right at the entrance area, and that will really ease drop off and waiting in the morning and afternoon. Along Dayball, this is where the pre-K drop-off area will be for the real young children, and that will allow them to walk in, and we're all pretty much at grade with large walkways for everyone to get into the building. Playgrounds right here, Diane, the landscape architect, can go into that. So when doing the design on this, as you can see, all the design pretty much is on the perimeter, and why that all has to do with following the recommendations of the traffic study. So it's my professional opinion that the improvements here meet the recommendations of the traffic study and improve the conditions of travel through this area of the city for this facility. So let's go on. I just want to point out
Before you jump ahead, I think we had some commissioners that had some questions. So
Sorry,
Rachel,
just
go ahead.
while you're on the
Absolutely.
slide, will that street also be open to public during, or is it just for school access?
That is just for school. That is just for school. I wouldn't see, just for bus. I mean, could it be used in like during school operations when there is a special event where they might wanna, it's at night and they might wanna, allow parking in there, but that would be something controlled by the school facility itself.
Moore Street isn't usually traversed by vehicular traffic regularly either, is it? I mean, the church uses it and the night library uses it, but that's really
That's
it, right?
And it dead ends, so
So you're still gonna have a
that's,
transition from
That-
that to that. and
that's
then
correct.
A barricade, okay.
That's correct, Jim.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and there is a fence, there's an existing wrought iron fence along here. It's actually, there's a small retaining wall along there, and we would have a sidewalk all the way. So there would be a sidewalk on both sides.
Just out of curiosity, are you gonna have any connection with the library?
They're not in the middle here. So I mean, they could certainly just walk down the sidewalk, but I mean, we could definitely look into it in this area. They would be walking, I would rather, be honest, I haven't really thought of that. I would rather have them walk down the sidewalk to the library than, this is just a big parking lot with not a lot of
Yeah, but
control.
I mean, I always go in from that Moore Street side and there's nice pedestrian paths to get to the entrance, so. I mean.
Yep.
It might make sense I feel like it'd be a missed opportunity to have the library there and the school right next door and them not to communicate in any way, shape or form.
Very good.
Right.
Gotcha, yeah, so we can look at it right in here. There's a little grade change there, but we'll have to take a look at it.
Yeah, I think it's actually positive though that Moore Street is cut off, so it seems like it should be a pedestrian connection that's separate from the actual.
I agree
I just wanna
completely.
clarify
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And I also had a maybe similar comment on the left side of the plan. Are you thinking at all about connections to the rec?
Yeah, the West End Rec Center.
And particularly, I'm just thinking like the entrance to the school, people are gonna come out of the school mid-block, and are they gonna be able to cross the street there, or how are you thinking about crosswalks, or how to get across that street?
It's such a vibrant, area of the city where the community congregates.
We have some renderings coming off the Referral Street.
We're getting ahead of ourselves there.
Yeah, yeah, exciting. So yeah, cause I'm just going over the nuts and bolts. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. So essentially, I just wanted to point out the field of parking for bikes. So we have the 120, what's required for the bikes. So really no dimensional variances required for this, no other variances other than just looking for the waivers on the approvals to keep the project moving smoothly. So let me just go into the other quick aspects for the site. What you see again is a more of a mechanical type plan. The area is serviced well with utilities. We have sewer and power off. We can get off Princeton, no problem. The water tends to come off Buckland and we'll go into a central mechanical room back there. What you see here is a subsurface drainage system that will take the roof runoff from the entire roof and then just meter it out into the existing system. This particular area here of the city is what we call a combined system. We are not only are we employing this subsurface system, each one of these pavement areas that we're doing here are going to be permeable pavement so that we can collect 100% of that water and infiltrate that into the soil, which the soil in this area is very conducive to that. So we're dropping the runoff rates into the surrounding street areas by 60-70%, which is a positive thing because that is something that NBC is going to be looking for us to do.
So are you just dealing with peak flow, or are you infiltrating all the roof leaders?
We're pretty much,
Is that an infiltration gallery, or is that just holding and releasing into the
that is
combination?
an infiltration, yes, there. Yep, infiltration. But what ends up happening is if I go and try to put the whole 100-year storm in here, it really doesn't work efficiency. I do have a small outlet here at the real essentially low frequency storms, and it still cuts it down to like 70% of the flow going to this area. So we think we have the right system in here, economical system, and that pretty much covers I'm going to say that covers the site.
Any questions on the site layout or traffic before we move to Mr. Torado for the architectural?
Do I need this or?
No, we
need. Okay. Oh, okay. Thanks, David. My name is Diane Soul. I'm a registered landscape architect in Rhode Island. And I'll just briefly go over the landscape components of it. We did follow the Article 15 zoning ordinance, trees and landscaping, the Providence ordinance. And we have met the requirements there. And also, we will be submitting this plan to Sam Dagenhart, the city forester, for his review and comment. So starting off in the upper left parking lot, we have a variety of trees and shrubs along Princeton and also along Buckland, screening the parking lot as required by the zoning ordinance. And as we move to the right, to the east, we have 3 existing trees that we are keeping, those trees. And then behind that, between the school face and those trees, that's just going to be an open play area, grass play area. And then going down, the bus drop-off area, we've got a variety of trees and shrubs that are along the facade of the building, and Dave mentioned the parking, or the bike racks that are just in the corner there. And then coming down to, the southeast corner, we've got trees at 25 feet on center, and then a variety of shrubs all along that Davall Street. And then the courtyard is where we have the pre-K and the K equipment. Then coming to the west, again, going up Buckland Street, we've got trees 25 feet on center. The main entrance is landscaped. And then coming back up to the corner where we started, I forgot to mention, at the bus drop-off area, we have a series of bollards protecting the entrance there. Right, thank you, David. And so that's just a brief overview of the landscape.
Brian, if you could go on to the architectural, please. Keep going. Brian O'Connell is not my assistant. He is the project executive at Allbrook Construction, and they are design build partners. So thank you, Brian. Half my staff is out sick, so he's been chatting for me. Okay, so this is the first floor plan. Okay, good. And north is here, south is here, and the main entrance to the school, as David pointed out, is located here. We have other main drop-off points. The loading dock is here. We have the bus drop-off lane, which has access here. And then, as Dave mentioned, there's direct access into the pre-K and K for drop-off. The main entrance foyer lobby leads to this, what we call Main Street. This Main Street connects the core spaces of the building, the media center, the cafeteria, the gym, and the music room. We have folding walls between the cafeteria and the gymnasium, and also a folding partition between the gymnasium and the music room, so that all of this space can be opened up for large gatherings and have performances from the music room and the stage. This public access and community use was not an afterthought, but really the main, one of the main design goals in our design, and that is that easy access to the public, restroom facilities, so that the academic wings can be closed down and they still have full use of that. From this Main Street, you have the academic wings, starting with the administration and nurse's office. We have the pre-K. As it was mentioned, this is a 4-track dual language, so the classrooms are paired up to be able to provide that dual language education, and then direct drop-off for the parents. At the other academic wing, we have the kindergarten and first graders, and as is required, direct access to their playground is provided. We also provide another play area here. The second floor is again arranged from this center corridor, having the academic wings for the 2nd and 3rd grade and 4th and 5th grades. And then the upper floor, as is greatly desired, is the middle school. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are all located here. Brian, I think we're gonna switch to you. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the, was there one before this one, Brian? Okay, sorry. Is this number one? Sorry, okay, all right, so this orients you. This is the kind of an aerial perspective looking at the Wall Street and Buckland Street. It's a little difficult to see, but if maybe in the copies that we gave you. Oh, Brian, now you're getting fancy. That would be great. Beautiful. Okay, so this is what we were talking about. And this is a conceptual drawing of what we hope to engage and further develop with the city. And that is to create this kind of plaza space between the main entrance to the building and the community center by having brick pavers connecting, some banners, special lighting, so that connection really is celebrated through the space. As I mentioned, this is south. One of the main design elements was to orient this in a way to maximize the sunlight that we'll get into the play areas. And then.
Let me zoom back up.
Oh. Okay, and then this is the perspective, a street view perspective from that. The first floor of the building is all masonry, all brick. And we have projections that come out from the second floor in certain areas. And what we're trying to do is break down the mass of the building and create more of a pedestrian scale at the street and also in the playgrounds. The rest of the building is aluminum panels with windows, and then we really want to have a welcoming entrance that it's kind of like a wow effect and gets the students and visitors excited about coming to the building. This is a perspective from Princeton, which is here, and Buckland. You see the parking area, loading dock, the additional play field. We were conscious of trying to not extend the 3-story portions of the building, but reducing them to 2 stories to maximize the sunlight that we'll get to that playground. And then this is the bus lane that we will create. The bus drop-off. This is the library. I should mention that the building is going to be very energy efficient, built of all green materials. We exceed the requirements of the Rhode Island Department of Education in their New England CHIP projects. And so we're very excited about the efficiency of the proposed building. And this gives you a better perspective. I think the connection that we were talking about to the library would happen somewhere in here, right? And then this would be the bus drop off that lets students directly into that main street. And then this is a perspective of the interior of the cafeteria. This is the folding partition that could be open up to the gymnasium and also opened up into the music area. So you could have large performance and large community and school gatherings in this space. That basically concludes our presentation.
Thank you. Let's touch on the waivers, just the requested relief.
Yeah, so the only waivers requested are from submission of the from permits from the Narragansett Bay Commission and RIDEM, and those will be provided at the permitting stage.
Okay. All right, commissioners, do you have questions of the applicant?
I have a question. So it looks like me in a lot of the site drawings, you're showing a bunch of stairs going up to the main entrance with a ramp coming off of those stairs, but the renderings make it look, I think when we were talking about like the plaza between the rec center and that sort of, crosses the street, renderings make it look very flat. I'm assuming that the grades are correct and the renderings need to catch up to that. Is that?
That's correct. The renderings kind of were the initial. It took a lot of work for us to locate the finished floor of the building. The existing building, it goes up a little slope and then you enter an intermediate level. And we wanted to make all of the exits and entrances ADA accessible. So it's roughly at the same elevation as the little slope. So we will be having some steps and an ADA ramp to get up to the main entrance.
Is this two schools combined into one, or they operate as two separate schools, Lima and Stuart? So you mentioned something about bilingual tracks, but then you didn't follow that throughout the rest of the school?
So the tracks is the number of classrooms,
Right.
four per grade. And then it's a bilingual school so that they have team teaching. There should be a connection between two classrooms, a pair of
Sure.
two classrooms as well.
So the whole school is gonna be bilingual?
That's right.
It's just, they just combine the name, but it's gonna be one school.
Yes.
And do you know what's expected? I'm just thinking about traffic and population with the Lima facilities now and Leventon over there. Are they gonna fill in with another school there? Or, cause you're transferring population here.
Correct.
Is that gonna continue the same population there with a different school?
Correct. So the Lima school will be transitioning to the new Lima Gilbert Stewart School, which will matriculate up, right, and eventually fill in as a pre-K-8. Currently, to the best of our knowledge, there's no plan to do anything at the Lima, existing Lima school after 2027. I know there is a phase 4, projects that are coming out, if there may be a need to use it for swing space for a period of time. But that's something that, PPSD has not made a decision moving forward on what other spaces might go in there.
And I want to, not really what you're here to discuss today, but since you have a picture in here of the demolition, it looks uncovered. So I'm not an expert, I'm not in the trades, but I would assume you do, the abatement interior before you start the demolition to the exterior of the building. But I see, looks like piles of debris with no covering, and I'm thinking about wind and dust and all that, like, what's, if you could explain a little bit about what's
So
going on there.
I'm not sure what you're looking at, but I can tell you.
He's looking at the staff report. There's a picture
Oh,
of
it's our-
partial demolition.
Okay.
On the side with, it looks like masonry debris on the side of the building.
Well, first and foremost, the inside of the building was abated and any exterior abatement that had to be done. And then we got a clearance on that before demolition can start. So they had to have a clean air, clearance on that by a third party, hygienist or environmental consultant that we've had on the site. There are piles of debris from the limestone and from the concrete as they do the demolition. It's brought down, it's watered, on a daily basis and throughout the day. But yes, there will be piles of debris, but that debris is just construction debris, masonry, limestone, those kind of things.
Okay. And while we're at it, 'cause I know it probably came up, if you guys can talk about the neighborhood meetings you conducted and what was the feedback and what you were able to address or not address.
Sure. A lot of again, similar to, RFK, there was probably at least 14 other meetings that occurred within the last, 12 months on that project. A couple of ward meetings, our monthly building committee meetings, as well as PTO meetings, community meetings, on site. The biggest concern that was raised there, was, similar to the questions you asked about demolition abatement, as well as the existing Lima, school, what was going to be happening there. We are just getting into more programming and discussion meetings with the community about what they want inside the school. I think there's been a lot of positive feedback about those connections we're now making with the community, with the rec center across the community center across the street and the field, down the road. In addition to that, the interior spaces, as you saw, that gym, that cafeteria, all of those spaces are going to be available to the community. And we have been exploring that connection to the library. I think it would be, a lost opportunity if we did not. And I think that we've heard a lot about that, over the last month from the community, from the library itself, and obviously from this body as well. And it's definitely something we want to, look at.
Thank you.
it's important to me, what kind of trees are coming in? Is it a variety or if,
Make sure you use the microphone, sorry. People in the virtual room can't hear if you don't speak into the
Okay,
microphone.
sorry, yeah, it's, we've taken our, street tree list from the Providence, street tree, guidelines, so all of them come from that, and it is a variety.
Just piggyback a little bit about, since we talk about the trees, currently there's gardens. I don't know if that belongs to the library or if that's yours and if that driveway is gonna take that out.
Yep, there's a community garden there. It is part of the library.
Okay.
And I gotta give them, a shout out. I heard that it's an incredible, garden. The design build team actually just helped them recently cover it so that they protected it. We had a meeting with the community about a week ago and we talked about it. They want to make it better. We're gonna help them with that. But that is on the library's property. It is not, but we were gonna do everything we can to help them, to make it better as well as protect it and work with that, with the individuals that are running that. I do want to touch on one other things about playground, because I know there was a comment that was written in at one point, and I do want to address that. Those playgrounds are deliberately placed where they are. We are not concerned about noise. With pre-K and K, those playgrounds have to be directly adjacent to their classrooms, so they're placed in a specific location at ground level, so the children could get in and out at ground level, and they could quickly be moved back into their classroom as needed. So those are why we have so many playground areas with the pre-Ks. There's a lower elementary, and then there's a pre-K, and then there's another playground for the older kids, so we keep them all separated as well.
I did have one more question about playground specifically. So the orientation is south?
Yes.
Any concerns about like heat or like lack of shade when kids are out there?
I think that it's a relatively short duration that they're out there. The other thing that I wanted to add on to what Mr. Sanchez said is the sound concern, the noise concern from the kids playing there wouldn't occur because it is the pre-K and K students that are gonna be in the playground, and it's their classrooms that are joining it.
Okay, does the planting plan provide any shade to that playground area, or it's hard to tell from that?
If you can switch to the landscape plan, which shows where the playground equipment is positioned within those courtyards. Right now, there's no trees or no shrubs in there. The surfacing is poured in place, surfacing, it's a soft surface. And what we could do, we could look at putting like a shade structure. We certainly would have enough room to do that, like a canopied shade in each of the playground.
It just,
I wouldn't want to block the sunlight into the classrooms either. I mean,
No.
it's a tug and pull between the two. I mean, the amount of light you're rendering show inside the facility is it's a positive, I think, for a learning environment to have that much natural light.
agreed, and most of the time the kids are in school, trees are either in fall or winter status. Just kind of as temperatures warm overall, just something to think about. I just, as a parent, have experienced like hot equipment on legs and shorts. It's uncomfortable, so just something to think about.
Yeah, I would say there, you see the 4 trees along the street there. They would cast a shadow into, but not really that far into the pre-K space.
Right, it's more midday, it's not end of day. Yeah,
Correct.
okay, thank you.
I would say from an environmental standpoint, it is an improvement from what is there now because the lot pretty much goes all the way to the right. And there's nothing to break any of that going in there, no trees or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dayball neighbors are gonna be pretty happy with the improvement as well.
I mean,
Are there opportunities for, like creating tree wells within the play area?
I really don't think that's a very good idea because of the surfacing that we have in there. It's poured in place. It's a rubber surface. And it just isn't conducive to having trees in there, in my opinion. I mean, I can look at it and get some recommendations.
Yeah, I guess, rather than an actual structure, I think, finding a way to put a tree or two in there might create shade and not block out light during the winter. So you're doing both.
Yeah.
You say there's gonna be deliveries, pretty much all deliveries gonna be by that parking lot on the top left there? Cause you're having like big trucks, potentially Cisco trucks or whatever, making a turn off of a narrow street, sharp right, 90 degree, and then have to turn again left. And there's cars parked right there. Not that I want extra driveways, but it seems like it would have been easier if they were coming off of Buckland.
There's an entrance here, and then this is the loading area.
Yeah, there's two driveways.
Oh, geez, I have to go that way.
There's another driveway cut there too.
They're gonna have to go there and then make a quick turn, cause I'm supposed to be parallel to the building.
I did look at that, in my layout, I did look at it, but we want this as a drop off.
Yeah.
To have an access here, we didn't feel it's desirable. This being a one-way, that vehicle can easily make that.
But there's cars parked on the other side, right?
There is that's correct. So Princeton does have parking
On that
along the
side.
residential.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the way I see it is if he or she could not make this turn because of vehicles, it's possible that they can just park here and wheel it in.
Oh,
It's not
truck it in.
gonna be that steep. This is only like maybe, I wanna say 2% slope. So it's really not steep at all, going that way. So if they can't get in here, they're just gonna have to sit here and do that do that operation. These are 24-foot wide, so I mean, I could definitely look into seeing, I never ran the template. I've only run the bus template around, but I could run a template and just double check and see if I have to change that radii right there, or maybe make this a little wider. But we could take that into consideration. Sure.
Yeah, I've seen deliveries to more difficult entrances than that they can't get into the driveway and they have to hump it down, like they give downtown bars and restaurants and things like that on narrow streets. It's not ideal, but they do it. I think having the surrounding parking slip lanes are more important than that, for sure. For the overall neighborhood and
Yeah, I'd probably
quality of life.
I'd probably lose, about 3 spots along
Yeah.
there doing that. So that was my consideration.
Anything else for the applicant before we hear the staff report? Okay, thank you. Joanne, take it away.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And the applicant did speak about the aspects of the plan that we review at these stages. So we can jump directly to the waivers. So as was said, they are requesting a waiver from submission of state approvals, and we would recommend that you grant those waivers, finding that in the interest of good planning practice. And as was also previously suggested, we would ask that the applicant apply for either a major or minor change to the plan, should approval of any of those waived items result in a change to the site plan. And having granted the waiver, we would recommend that you combine master and preliminary plan approval, finding that the applicant meets the submission requirements for both those stages. Again, this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Both that being that it conforms to land use that is typical of the public space, open space designation, and it's in conformance with objective CS8 of the comprehensive plan. Again, they comply with the zoning ordinance as they spoke about the use, dimension, design, parking, landscaping, and they also submit a lighting plan. We don't foresee a negative environmental impact, no constraints that impact development of this property. As they spoke about, physical access is provided from Buckland and Dayball Streets and Princeton Ave. So based on that, we would recommend that you approve the master and preliminary plans, subject to the condition that the applicant and their traffic engineer shall work with the city traffic engineer on implementation of the recommendations in the traffic memo, and that the drainage plan shall be subject to the city engineer's approval, as well as the landscaping plan being subject to the city forester's approval. And the reason for that is because of the width of the planting strips, which varies in certain areas, which is less than 5 feet that's required, and that would require the city forester's approval.
Okay, and then, before we open a public comment, I would, if it were me making a motion, I would add a fourth condition, because we have 1, 2, 3. Third is the landscape plan subject to the city forester. I would add a fourth that the applicant shall continue to work on pedestrian connections to both the West End Rec Center and the Knight Memorial Library. All right, with that, this is a public hearing, so we will open up public comment at this time. Anyone in the room who wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Anyone joining us in the virtual room, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you are calling in. Okay, so there is no one online. There is no one in the room. We did receive, I failed to mention previously, we did receive a letter, which is a part of the record, from Mary Hollinshead, about this, mostly discussing the green space, playground areas, and I think even the applicant mentioned how they were addressing those issues that Mary brought up. One was an auditorium, which I think the architect spoke of when speaking with a flex space for the combination of the gymnasium, the kitchen, or the cafeteria, the gymnasium, and the music space that can all be combined together to make a large space for larger gatherings. Okay.
A little bit easier on the traffic.
Yeah, this one I think is going to be a lot easier on the traffic. They had the room, they made some adjustments, and I think they made the best the possible attempt to ease the traffic burdens in this area. They had a little bit extra room, they were able to do that. So I mean, I'm happy with that. Again, if we move this forward, I would add that fourth condition about the pedestrian connections. But I think we only have 2 votes on this one because they're not asking for dimensional adjustments. So it's a combination of the stages.
Waiver.
State approval.
Waiver, state approval. So we have 3. Yes, sorry about that. Waiver of state approvals, then combination of stages, and then the land development project. So 1, 2, and 3. So the first vote would be addressing the waiver for state approvals. And if we were to move that forward, it would be subject to the applicant applying for a change should any of the approvals result in a change to the plans submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Well, second.
All right, I'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. And then if we were to put forward approval of a land development project based on the submission, the findings of fact in the staff report, and the testimony today, the discussion that ensued, we would vote to approve the master and the preliminary plan, subject to the conditions that the applicant and their traffic engineer work with the city traffic engineer.
Wait, don't we need to combine the stages?
We have to do that first, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jump ahead. To vote on the master and the preliminary plans together, we do need to take action on the combination of stages. So if anyone would like to put a motion forward.
Make a motion to combine the master and preliminary plan stages.
Thank you.
Having approved. the requested
Do we
waivers.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Now we could take action on the land development project based on the testimony, the submission, by the applicant, the findings of fact in the staff report and the discussion that ensued this evening, with the conditions that the applicant and their traffic engineer shall work with the city traffic engineer on implementation of the recommendations in the traffic memo, that the drainage plan shall be subject to the city engineer's approval, that the landscape plan shall be subject to the city forester's approval, and that the applicant shall continue to work on connections, pedestrian connections to the West End Rec Center and to the Knight Memorial Library.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a fully formed motion. We'll go around and do a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Best of luck.
Aye.
Now we will move on to agenda item number 4, which Bob is going to be handling. And I guess I'll start off by a plea to my fellow commissioners in the hopes that you did your homework and read this through before now, and that Bob can do a high level description of what this entails. I did have a few and obviously if you have questions about specific items and things like that you want to discuss, let's discuss it. But I didn't think we needed to read all of these pages and go over every single item, with the hopes that everyone has read it and gone through it already. I have, and I have a couple questions and discussion points, but other than that, I think let's have Bob just.
Does everyone have a copy of this table? Because I have two.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Everyone has a
Okay.
copy.
Got it.
It's,
Yeah,
Okay.
everyone has at least one copy.
Got it.
there's
got
plenty
it.
to go around.
Okay.
So let's do high level, Bob, and then we'll drill down if we need to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. First thing I want to do is say that we have a really good team that has been working on these changes. I want to acknowledge Alexis Thompson, our zoning official, Lev Simon, our planner, Megan DeSanto from the law department. We've been meeting more or less weekly on this for several months now, scouring the state laws that have been approved, trying to figure out how they apply, how we might incorporate them into our ordinance. Not just the ordinance, but the development review regulations, what language has to go where. It's incredibly complicated. This is something that I used to do kind of myself, and it's been a great relief to have other folks putting their heads together, all of us having the opportunity to collaborate. So I want to say that I'm really grateful for that, for all the work that's gone into this. Even a place like Providence, where we have the staff to work on this, it's been a real challenge. I can only imagine what it's been like with some of the smaller communities in the state. A lot of the stuff that's happening at the state level has been really good, really helpful, really positive, but it has placed a significant burden on us as staff to get all this done. So these changes, a lot of them relate to changes in the state law. And while we're at it, as we talk about in the comprehensive plan and as we've been doing for years, we're always monitoring our zoning ordinance to see how it's working. And to, we make notes and we try to make it as responsive as possible. So we're always going in looking for ways that we can clarify, correct, update the ordinance in a way that's gonna be most responsive to the kind of development that we see. We want a zoning ordinance where variance requests are gonna be few and far between, where discretionary approvals are truly discretionary. Things that come to you are projects that are looking for something beyond what is allowed by right. And so that's kind of our angle in looking at the ordinance. And then on top of it, there are a couple of items from the comprehensive plan that we've included in here. One, you'll recall, is this restriction of gas stations, where the comprehensive plan speaks to not wanting to use land that could be suitable for residential uses for gas stations. So we've incorporated that in there. Also, on the housing front, when it comes to transitional shelters, the comprehensive plan speaks to not needing a special use permit in the zones where transitional shelters are currently allowed by special use permit. So we've changed that to being allowed by right. Just a couple of the high points, as I described in the staff report. The row house regulations, when we put those into place, we did the best we could, but we've been talking with a lot of developers and seeing how these rules have worked out, and we realized that it's not quite as good as it could be. So we've made some adjustments there. Row houses are tricky in a city that doesn't have alleys like you see in a lot of communities with row houses where vehicular access is from the back. It's hard to get driveways and parking areas with row houses that just have frontage on one street. So we've tried to make some allowances for that, so that there is a present on the street. Maybe there's an integral garage. There's still some open space, but maybe it's not the same organized in the same way that you might see for a detached house. So we've kind of worked on that. The adaptive reuse standard, one thing that's important about one of the more recent changes in state law, and this is something we advocated for, the way the law had originally been written, you could convert any kind of industrial building into housing, even in a heavy industrial zone where you don't otherwise allow for housing. You still had to allow for it. So we were successful in advocating for local communities to be able to prohibit residential conversions in the heavy industrial zones where it's really bad policy to have housing right up against the heaviest industry that we have. So that's an important one. Fences, we had some issues with the community gardens where they wanted to have fences that are taller than what we allow typically in residential zones. In residential zones, we want the fences to be low at the front lot line, and then they can get taller as you move back. That doesn't work for a community garden where they might want to have, we got some complaints from Southside Community Land Trust, for example, where they were concerned that people were just going to be able to hop over a 3-foot fence and steal vegetables, for example. So we specified that that's just for residential zones. The parking, the memorandum of understanding with the colleges said that we would agree to advocate for changes to parking regulations for the colleges based on the fact that a lot of their employees don't work the way they used to pre-COVID. There's a lot of people who work remotely. And then also the same thing with bike parking. They found that our bike parking rules were very restrictive. Likewise with these, pre-K through, 12 schools, are, as you can see, requiring 120 spaces on a school can be burdensome just from a space standpoint. It's also not necessary. So we think that we came up with some more reasonable updates on the bike parking. Yeah.
He's not referring to the off-street parking at the campuses, like Brown.
No, just off-street parking. We're just referring to off-street parking for the campuses.
Okay.
Yeah. Administrative modification, this is the rule that allows the zoning enforcement officer to grant small variances up to 15% of any dimensional regulation. State law has changed a little bit on that. Notably, it didn't used to allow for moving of lot lines, for granting a modification when you're moving a lot line. From our perspective, that didn't make any sense because, we think that, through a subdivision process, you should be able to take advantage of modification just like with any other dimensional standard. So that was another one where we advocated for that change. The state also added in a new feature for modification, which is called character-based modifications. That's where certain dimensional regulations can be modified by the zoning enforcement officer if the character of the neighborhood is such that, for example, if the character of the neighborhood is that there are very shallow side yard setbacks, and you can demonstrate that a majority of the lots within a 200-foot radius have that reduced setback, the zoning enforcement officer can approve that administratively as opposed to going to the zoning board. And then there's another one that's similar, where we talk about subdivision into non-conforming lots. You might recall that we already have this provision where if lots had been merged in the past, they can be reconfigured to create undersized lots as long as you can demonstrate through official city records that these lots had previously existed. People have been coming at us with all kinds of records that aren't official plat books, so we wanted to specify that this is an official plat book. Sometimes they're coming at us with something that says it's a plat, and it was actually like from the city archives, but it's not an official plat book. So we wanted to make that clear. Also, a new feature of state law is they have this thing called oversized lot subdivision. It's actually subdivision into undersized lots, like this neighborhood character-based modification. Under the new law, if you can demonstrate that lot sizes within 200 feet of your property on average are undersized, you're allowed to subdivide into lots of that size. As long as the lots, you can't do it to make lots of less than 3,000 square feet.
Is that 3,000 square feet determined by state law, or is
That's state law. Our number was 2,500 square feet. We're bumping that up to 3,000. And the reason why is, first of all, to be consistent with the oversized lot subdivision. But the other reason is that because modification now applies to lot size, a 3,000 square foot lot is actually a 2,550 square foot lot. If you apply the 15% reduction to 3,000 square feet.
specifically to get to what you already?
Yes, to get essentially where you were to begin with. So one of the big takeaways here are that there are so many new tools that are available because of these new state laws, that it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. You now have it. In many cases, you kind of don't know what the zoning is for a particular piece of land. Cause it kind of depends on what's around it. That's very new. That was very commonly the justification for any number of dimensional variances. The state has kind of taken that sort of neighborhood context and codified it into the law. So it's available, but we don't always know what you can do on a piece of property anymore. It used to be a lot simpler. Now there's more available, but it's more complicated to figure it out. And, it's gonna be a challenge for us. We all the time, we get questions, I want to do this, can I do it? And the answer is, well, these are the 5, 6, 10 tools that are available to you. We can tell you if you're getting it right, but we're not necessarily in a position to do all the analysis because it can be pretty robust. That said, there are even fewer reasons why someone should need to apply for a variance because there are so many things available. I was talking with someone the other day about a lot, 2,500 square feet, give or take. A couple of years ago, all you could do on that was one unit. This is in a 3-family zone. That was all we allowed. On undersized lots, you could get one unit. And if it was next to a undersized vacant lot, those lots would have been considered merged. These days, in a 3-family zone, doesn't matter the lot size, you get 3 units, and now you can get an ADU, so you can get 4 units. So this is, and then, if you've got, say, 6,000 square feet, where a minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet, but you can demonstrate that, all the lots on average are 3,000 square feet within 200 feet, guess what? You can get a couple of lots out of it. So, lots of tools, and we've done our best to incorporate them as best we can into the ordinance. And so with that, I'm happy to take any specific questions you might have.
I like that we're reacting to as we have the comprehensive plan, we have the zoning changes. Applicants come before us and we find out what works and what doesn't. And I like that we're reacting to some of the more ambiguous areas like attic and encroachments and things like that. Because that's based on what's been before us and what applicants have been asking for.
Yeah, can I just speak to that quickly? So this thing about some of this stuff is defensive,
right,
based on things that people have brought to us where we thought, well, that's a novel interpretation of the ordinance, and you have figured out a way to do something we never intended. The way we define an attic actually allows you to pretend that it's storage space, but the second you get a CO, you turn it into living space, and it's a 4-story building in a 3-story zone. Encroachments, likewise, we allow for portions of a building to encroach over a public right of way. We never really intended for the whole facade of a building to encroach over the public right of way. So, and we've seen a few of these, and thought, well, that was never our intention. This is supposed to be for things like architectural bays and so forth. So we had to make some of those tweaks as well.
The only one where, and I mentioned this to you previously, is why do we make it easier to use EFS in any instance? But I understand it shouldn't have to come before us. You guys can make the determination.
Yeah,
I just don't like EFS.
And like I said, we very rarely see that as a building material.
I had a question about the encroachment one, just because I was trying to figure out what your intent, I mean, I understand your intent is to not have whole building creating caves.
Yes.
But I guess, are there instances in Providence of arcade type things or portico type things that are positive, or?
Well, there are, but usually they go back from the lot line. I'd give an example of 380 Westminster Street, the federal building, which is just down the street over here, where it's got that arcade, but it comes right to the lot line. It's not hanging out. You know, that, we wouldn't, well, first of all, we would never, see a building element coming all the way down to the ground within the public right of way, say. And if it's not doing that, then it's just gonna be an overhang.
Yeah, there's not really the same
Yeah,
thing.
there's, you know, I spent a very long time on my walks around town, kind of looking at traditional buildings and those that have overhangs over the public right of way. It's at this 50% that we settled on.
That's generous.
That it's fairly generous. I almost never do we see anything more than that.
Right.
And when we do, it's not great.
Right, I guess my second question on that, because it seems like you're calculating it in terms of area, which is sort of a funny thing to me. Like, it seems like it should be linear feet.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was my quick follow-up.
Yeah, that was, let me just look at how we say it. Hold it out right here.
It says no more than 50% of the total area of a facade may encroach over the public right of way. So I just think it might get fuzzy in how people.
Well, but it can't be linear feet, because what if it's a 4-story building and you're talking about, you know, it.
Yeah, it might be that you care more about area. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah, that was definitely something that came up in our discussions.
Because then I guess what I'm envisioning is that somebody has a jut out on their second floor that's the entire length of the building.
Yeah.
Creates like a roof over the sidewalk, basically, but technically it's not 50% of their facade.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I know that we had this discussion.
Maybe no more than 50% of the facade and no more than 50% of any floor.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Floor.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really about linear.
But it's both. It can't be one. I think you need both.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a good idea.
You're right. You could just build a shelf and then have
let me
nothing
work
on the third, fourth, or first floor, and you're still under the.
Yeah.
It's like you need an if-then equation. almost,
Right.
like-
And make sure that it's defensible.
Yeah.
We can't be or.
Okay.
It has to be and.
Yeah, we'll yes. We'll have legal counsel review that.
No or.
Yeah. Depends on how you define or. Is it the inclusive disjunction or, yeah.
I mean, it's funny because, like, if you think about, like, what if someone owned a parcel on one side of the street and one on the other side of the street, and you tried to connect it? Yeah.
Well, the encroachment can't be more than 4 feet.
Okay,
Yeah,
then they need aerial rights.
and it can't go,
That's separate.
and it can't go over the curb. Yeah,
The aerial rights and, yeah.
yeah, but, you know, these are, you know, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game.
No, but I think
sometimes.
Charlotte's comment is absolutely correct. I think it needs to be both. So if you could make that adjustment, and then. Yeah, I really asked questions about the number of commissioners. So the ordinance administrators for the zoning board of review 1703 is just getting in the weeds. Is that because we're taking everything but the historic district commission away from the zoning board because everything else goes to Judge Lampier?
That's correct.
That's what I thought. Because now we have a.
Yeah,
Land.
that's the only quasi judicial body whose appeals go to the zoning board. And then there are administrative officer appeals, but that's it.
All right, yeah, then if we make that change, that's,
Yeah,
I think that's.
happy to do that. I will say, just wanted to point out, there's a typo, in table 4-1, the first column, R1A for minimum lot width. I think it says new subdivisions, not for, supposed to say not for RH row house. I think it says RB Lev. Do you see that? Yeah, okay. That was one that we'll fix. And then there was another one, on page 5, 1202L6. The word row house is struck, but it doesn't exist. We put it in, then we took it out. So, Lev, you want to make that? You want to make that change? So, we'll keep looking through this. There might be one or two more than that, but, as you can see, there's a lot here. And, I will say, that, we're, can't guarantee that we won't be back with more, but I think we've done our best to really capture all the issues for the moment. The other thing I'll say to you is that there are a handful of other things in the comprehensive plan that we've committed to address, including minimum parking regulations. So stay tuned on that. Zoning in the Port of Providence area. There's some discussion about inclusionary zoning. So that's something that we can expect to be debating sometime soon. But gradually working our way through the comp plan. And just trying to stay on top of it.
Are there any development review regulations that are gonna change based on this?
Oh, yeah, you're gonna see those next month.
Okay.
Yep, we're gonna have a public hearing on that.
Oh, that's right, we talked about it at the beginning.
Talked about it at the beginning, so, mainly, there are some procedural things, mainly having to do with development plan review. The General Assembly has been gradually taking development plan review and making it more like land development project review. So there are some significant changes around that. Also, as you see here, pre-application meetings are now,
they're not required.
They're not required anymore, which honestly, I think is not a good thing.
I felt that was a mistake, but I know.
But we're always good about scheduling. It's not like we refuse to schedule them.
Strongly suggest.
Yeah, strongly suggested. But the other thing is that we can't find an application incomplete unless it's deficient in something that's in one of the checklists. So you're gonna see some beefed up checklists where we say very specifically things like, you've got to give us plans that show zoning compliance, or identify all the things that are not compliant. Because otherwise, the clock starts ticking and
I think a lot of times applicants put in their application, it's deemed complete, and then they follow up with supplemental materials, and sometimes those don't always come through.
That's true. Yeah. So we want to be able to, and these timeframes are significant, because once the clock starts ticking, if you let something elapse, then it could have the consequence of an automatic approval, and we never want to be in a position like that. So as things are getting much more generous for property owners and land developers, which is not a bad thing, we also want to make sure that we have ample time to review things, to make sure that things are being done right.
Especially since the burden is more and more being laid in your lap. And
Yes.
Your staff's lap.
Yes.
There's a lot of administrative review that used to come to us, and not that our workload is nothing, it's we've picked up some zoning, we've picked up some other things, but you
Yeah.
guys have a lot more work than you did 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, and honestly, the general trend of the state law has been, putting more, of a burden on planning boards and less on zoning boards. Even to the point with now development plan review, if something's subject to development plan review that you wouldn't even review, if it needs a variance, it doesn't go to the zoning board, it comes to you.
That was in there.
That's one of the things, yeah, it was, I don't know if that's exactly what was intended, but, you know, yeah, I would love to be able to say that, you know, the burden is less on the planning board, but it doesn't seem like.
It's not less, we picked up some other things, but you guys definitely.
We have
picked up
a lot from an administrative standpoint, yes.
I did have one sticky point, I'll keep it short, sorry. In Article 2, attics, just because this is what I do, we're creating an opportunity where people can like expand living space, so you met the ANSI standard for ceiling height at 7 feet. And then, but exceeded with the 25%, whereas the ANSI standard is 50%, like how we consider what's living space or finished space when you're considering a home valuation. So like this, I just know from experience, this will create a lot of like third floor attic space that has like access that's not necessarily to code. Is there any sort of like requirement? So like if someone has an attic, but the access is like a short stair with a short tread, is there any sort of like requirement for?
Well, I think what this is the intent is to create a story and not an attic, so it would be.
Agreed.
It's saying that if it's more than 7 feet or more than 25% of the area, it will count as a story. It's not an attic anymore.
Right.
And which always knocks it into like other requirements.
Okay, so that's just my only clarification. So yes, everybody has this, I'm selling a house right now as an attic that would qualify under these new guidelines to become living space.
Well, yeah, so,
Okay.
so, yeah, just to be clear on this,
So
this
story is not
this is,
necessary.
this definition is doing, the definition is doing two things. First of all, it's describing, it's defining what an attic is. Okay, so when you have, you know, whatever, it's the space between the ceiling beams of the uppermost story and the roof. So imagine, say, a two-story building that has a pitched roof. You got the ceiling beams of the second story, and then you got, so it's the area between the roof and those ceiling beams. And we will not count that as a story if the ceiling height is if it meets the standard of less than less than 7 feet for 25% of its area. If and if you have enough, you know, adequate head height and floor area, we count it as a story. And this is for new I wish I could show you the picture. This is for new construction primarily, where in residential zones, we have a story limit. Residential zones are the only places where we have a story limit. 3 stories, 45 feet, for example. What we're seeing some people do is they're building they're calling it a 3-story house, and then it's got a very shallow pitched roof, and then they have floor area that is, yeah. They have floor area that exceeds that goes up to 50%. They call it an attic, and they say, oh, it's not going to be occupied. This is just going to be storage and mechanical space.
And that has an illegal basement apartment.
It probably does.
It does.
It probably does. So so we're essentially trying to prevent people from creating, calling something an attic that's really living space. If something already exists and it's got living space between the rafters and the ceiling beams, and it's up to code,
Yeah,
then
Yeah, I guess like.
it would be if they had a living space and it was in an attic and say the third floor of this, it would be an existing non-conforming. And it can stay there. You can't build that today.
Understood. I just see how this could kind of create for existing structures more opportunity to kind of like add to living space. I'm just wondering if that would.
Not legally.
I think it's creating less opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm.
They would have to do it without permits because you wouldn't be able to get a permit to create that into living space.
Okay,
Because it would be an existing non-conforming and they wouldn't allow that.
okay. Got it. Okay.
People might.
Just one thing.
People will do it without permits, but that's not.
Okay.
Typically, the ceiling of a last floor is not structural for supporting weight of floor space.
Right.
Yeah, you need to add that.
Huh?
You need to add that support in order.
Right, well, so usually we'll frame a ceiling with a 2x6.
Right.
Not a 2x10 or 2x12 or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So if you just throw floorboards on top of a thin,
The collar ties or whatever. Yeah. That's
or the ceiling,
Yeah.
section, last floor.
Okay. Oh, I must have, I was thinking
That
about
would
it
be
in a
fine,
different
huh?
way. Yeah.
Yeah, this is reducing what's currently on the books, not
Okay.
increasing.
Okay.
So, what we would ask is that you, make a positive recommendation to the city council on this, finding it to be consistent with and implementing the, goals of the comprehensive plan and being consistent with the purposes of zoning.
Do we have to note that we've made?
Yeah, you could say if you don't have to, that doesn't, any changes that you've advised, we'll just make those and forward them on. So you don't have to, we wouldn't put that in the letter.
So you could just say so moved.
Yeah.
So moved.
Sorry.
Second. All right. We'll go around. Noah?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Rachel? Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. All right, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
Did it.